What's up guys, and welcome back to the next episode of this little Ford Connect micro campervan conversion. So in today's episode I'm actually going to be doing one of the jobs I hate the most on some of these conversions, and that is starting on the bodywork. The bodywork on this van is actually very good. There's only one dent on the entire van, and that's in the rear doors, but it does have the usual Ford Connect rusty sill problem and the rusty roof problem. Now thankfully already the sills have both been replaced on this vehicle, but when they're being replaced it looks as though they haven't really been treated very well, because as you can see they're full of surface rust again. But thankfully it is just surface rust, none of it's actually started to eat into the sills again. So I'm going to be knocking all of this surface rust back just with a flap disc on the grinder, get it back to all the bare metal. Then I'll be giving this a good full red oxide primer, then painting, probably a wax oil, things like that as well. On the rear of the vehicle, on the rear door, there's a small little dent in the lower section of this door, again with just a small little rust area that needs knocking back because it's broke through the paint. I'm going to be trying to knock this dent out from the inside out. I've been down to a body shop and that's what they said will be the easiest and quickest way to get it out. So we'll be knocking that dent out, getting it flat as well, and we'll be giving that, again, that little rust area a little treat as well. But that's it in regards to dent wise. There's just that one dent in the entire vehicle. As I say, the full passenger side dent free, but again surface rust on the arches again as well. So both arches are going to have to get knocked back to the bare metal, treated out with some really good metal treatment. As I say, whether that's going to be Hammerite or red oxide primer or whatever, we'll see as we go along. I'll see what supplies I've got and what I can go out and get. And then when I get the sills done and the rear door done, finally it's going to be onto the roof. Now I have done one of these vans before, and the previous van had worse rust on the roof than this one. The last one it had actually broken through, whereas this side it's just a lot of small little rust spotting. This can probably just be sanded back, and this particular area is the worst on the entire roof. That's going to have to get ground back with a bit of filler over it, and again primed and painted and things like that as well. Thankfully the rest of the roof isn't in that bad condition. It's just a few small little spotty rust scabs, as you can see, going along the ribs, and that one particular bigger scab that needs taken care of. Now I am thinking of actually painting this van in Raptor paint as well. I've still got some white Raptor left over from one of the minibuses that I previously did, and because this is quite a small van which can be prone to rust in places, like as I say the sills, the roof, things like that, I'm thinking if I give it a good painting over with Raptor paint, that would basically protect all the metalwork for many more years, because Raptor is pretty much impenetrable by water, things like that, and it's almost impossible to scratch or chip as well. So as I say, I'm thinking once all the bodywork's done, all the sills are done, the roof done, I'll get the dent out the back door, I might give the entire van a flat back and give it a full painting with Raptor paint as well. But if I do that, that'll be in another episode. Today I'm just concentrating on getting the bodywork prepped and getting rid of all of the rust spots and scabs, things like that. So first things first, I'm going to get some safety gear out, some tools out, get cracked on. Start on the sills, getting all of these knocked back to as bare clean metal as possible. Then we'll have a look at the rear door, and after the rear door's done we'll move on to the roof. So let's get cracked on and see how much we get done in this episode. Right, so now all of the sill is fully knocked back with all the surface rust removed. I'm now going to go over it and give a good smothering of Hammerite Kurust, just to be sure that if there's any small little pitting left that I haven't been able to get off, this should basically kill off anything before then red oxide primer everything that's been ground back. So I'm going to give it a good smothering of this, and then while this is drying up, we'll then work on the other side and get that ground back, and then it'll be rinse and repeat, applying this again. So let's get cracked on and get some of this applied. Right, so that's both sills fully ground back, fully treated with the Hammerite Kurust. So I'm going to leave this to set and dry and do its conversion stuff for the next hour or so. And in the meantime, I'm now going to move on to the rear door dent. So I'm going to get the carpeted panel off the rear door that I've already fitted in. So I'm just going to unscrew this carpeted panel, and that's going to give full access to the rear where the dent is. And then I'm probably going to get a heat gun, heat the metal up, try and either push it out or give it a few bashes with a hammer, try and get it as straight as possible, and then if it needs a bit of filler or tidying up after that, we'll do that, but it'll still look better than having a big dent where it is at the moment. So let's crack on and try and get this dent removed. Right, so now the sills have had over an hour to dry up, all the crust has had an hour to do all of its conversion work as well. So now I'm just going to mask up anywhere that I haven't treated, then I'll be giving it a good spray down with red oxide primer, then another layer of white paint on top of that as well. And on top of that, as I say, the whole van's probably going to get a Raptor coating as well. So as I say, that's going to be the sills pretty well protected. So now I'm just going to mask them up, start spraying them down, just to give them a couple of extra layers of protection as well. Right, so that's both of the sills now fully red oxide primered. As I say, that's all of the surface rust knocked back, a full 2 coats of the acrylic red oxide as well. And now that's all dried up, I'm just going to give it all a lick of paint, just with some normal white thick paint as well. As I say, that'll give it another fully protective coating, and then on top of that it'll all be getting raptored later on as well. But as I say, today it's just a case of trying to get all the rust off and get all the sills, the back door, any rust spots fully protected, just to be sure that they're going to be good for years to come. So as I say, the red oxide primer is now fully dry, so now I'm going to go over it all with some white paint just to give it another protective layer, and then we'll move on to the back doors and then the roof. Taking care of all the bodywork, and that involved grinding all of the surface rust off all of the sills, again painting, priming, painting and wax oiling them. Similar again on the roof had a lot of rust spots, so they've again all been sanded back, primed, painted and again ready for fresh paint as well. And on one of the rear doors there was a small dent, again with a little rust spot that's been knocked out. The rust has been removed and the little dent's been filled over, and the old bumper's been fully replaced as well.